Trying to bust up your opponent. That's
badasses on the planet.
You gotta call this. This is. I think.
Imagine stepping into a WWE ring, thinking you're about to have a scripted match, only to realize the guy across from you isn't pretending anymore. That's exactly what happened when Ken Shamrock and Vader squared off. What was supposed to be another hard-hitting WWF encounter quickly turned into a real fight. It wasn't wrestling, it was war. It was 1997. And Ken Shamrock had just arrived in WWF. But here's the problem, Shamrock wasn't like the others. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was the world's most dangerous man, a legit MMA fighter, a UFC Hall of Famer, a guy who had broken bones for real inside a cage. Now enter Vader. A monster of a man. Over 400 pounds, a legend in Japan, feared for his stiffness, and known for throwing punches that left bruises for days. Vader wasn't about finesse. He was about brute force. So when WWF booked Shamrock vs. Vader, fans thought it would be physical, but nobody expected how real it would get. The match was billed as a special rules fight, and that alone made things tense. Shamrock was still new to pro wrestling. He wasn't used to pulling back on strikes. His style was raw, stiff, and dangerous. Meanwhile, Vader had an ego, and he wasn't about to let some MMA guy come in and embarrass him. From the very first lockup, you could feel something was off. This wasn't cooperation, this was a test of dominance. Shamrock started throwing full-force kicks to Vader's legs and ribs, the kind of kicks you'd see in UFC, not WWE. At that point Vader snapped. He hit Shamrock in the face, hard, not a worked punch, a real one. You can literally see Shamrock's expression change. His eyes went cold. He wasn't the world's most dangerous man character anymore. He was the real Ken Shamrock, and he was about to finish the fight like it was in the octagon. Commentary even acknowledged it. Jim Ross said Shamrock might not understand how to pull his strikes, and watching it back, you can see exactly what he meant. But the moment everything turned real came when Shamrock grabbed Vader's leg and locked in his signature move, the ankle lock. Now normally, in wrestling, you apply the hold loosely and let the other guy sell it. But Shamrock wasn't faking, he cranked it in like he was back in the UFC. Vader screamed in pain and scrambled for the ropes, visibly furious that Shamrock was going too far. The crowd could feel it. This wasn't a scripted drama. This was real. Backstage, the fight didn't stop with the bell. Reports say Vader stormed behind the curtain furious, yelling that Shamrock didn't understand pro wrestling and that he was too dangerous. Shamrock fired back, telling Vader if he wanted a real fight, he'd be happy to give him one right there. It nearly turned into a locker room brawl before officials stepped in. That night is still remembered today as one of the most legit fights to ever break out inside a WWE ring. Number 2. Not every wrestling injury comes from a high-risk dive or a dangerous chair shot. Sometimes, all it takes is one perfectly placed strike. That's exactly what happened when Ron Simmons hit Ahmed Johnson with a stiff kick to the kidney, a single blow that turned their WWE match into something way too real. It was the mid-90s. WWE was in the middle of change, and Vince McMahon was looking for new stars to carry the company into the Attitude Era. One of those men was Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed had the look, the power, and the intensity. Fans saw him as unstoppable. But Ahmed also had a reputation backstage. He was reckless, stiff, and not always the safest guy to work with. He hit hard, sometimes too hard, and wrestlers didn't always appreciate being in the ring with him. Ron Simmons, known in WWE as Farouk, a legit tough man, if you hit him hard, he'd hit back twice as hard. That set the stage for a collision that was destined to get ugly. From the opening bell, it was obvious this wasn't going to be smooth. Ahmed came out wild, throwing heavy clotheslines and body shots that looked more like a brawl than a wrestling match. Simmons took the punishment, but his body language told the story. He wasn't about to let this slide. Then it happened. Simmons caught Ahmed during an exchange and drilled him with a stiff kick right to the side, the kidney area. This wasn't a work strike. This was a legitimate heavy kick that landed flush in one of the most painful and dangerous spots on the body. The reaction was immediate. Ahmed Johnson doubled over, clutching his side and grimacing in real pain. He wasn't selling. His kidney had taken the full brunt of Simmons' boot. Fans in the arena thought Ahmed was just doing his usual wild selling. But if you watch closely, his face tells the truth. That was no act. His breathing changed. His movement slowed. He wasn't the same after that kick. By the time the match ended, Ahmed was visibly injured. He was hunched over, favoring his side, and required medical attention afterward. Reports came out that Ahmed had suffered a legitimate kidney injury from Simmons' kick. Backstage, the heat carried over. Ahmed was furious, claiming Simmons had gone too far and deliberately injured him. Simmons, on the other hand, stood his ground. To Ron Simmons, Ahmed was reckless, and if he wanted to dish it out, he had to learn how to take it. Number 3. Some wrestling matches blur the line between scripted entertainment and real violence. But what happened between JBL and the Blue Meanie wasn't just part of the show. It was a real fight that exploded live in front of thousands of fans with the cameras rolling. It was June 12, 2005. WWE had just brought back ECW for the One Night Stand pay-per-view, a celebration of hardcore wrestling and the extreme stars who built that company. The atmosphere was electric, but also tense, because the ECW locker room and the WWE locker room had a history of bad blood, and no one carried that more than JBL. At the time, he was the top heel on SmackDown, arrogant, cocky, and known behind the scenes as a notorious bully. On the other side was the Blue Meanie, an ECW original, overweight and goofy-looking, but beloved by hardcore fans. Here's the catch. Meanie had taken shots at JBL online, calling him out for being a locker room bully. And JBL never forgot it. During the closing brawl of ECW One Night Stand, the ring was flooded with wrestlers, a wild, chaotic melee. But hidden inside all the chaos was one very real score that was about to be settled. JBL spotted Blue Meanie in the corner, and instead of throwing worked punches, he unloaded with legit stiff shots to Meanie's face. He smashed Meanie with legit fists, splitting him open badly. Within seconds, Meanie's face was pouring blood, not from a blade job, but from JBL hitting him for real. What made it even worse, Meanie had already been busted open earlier in the night during a chair shot from another segment. JBL targeted that same wound, making it look even more brutal. By the time it was over, Blue Meanie needed stitches. He later admitted he felt blindsided, saying he thought JBL used the chaos as cover to legitimately attack him. This wasn't a wrestling angle. This was JBL sending a message, "Don't mess with me." Backstage, the ECW locker room was furious. To smooth things over, WWE booked a follow-up segment on SmackDown where JBL and Blue Meanie had a one-on-one. This time, the ECW guys made sure JBL got his receipt. When the match started, JBL did his usual routine, trash talking, stiff shots, trying to keep control. But this time, things were different. ECW wrestlers were at ringside, including Stevie Richards and others. They were there to make sure JBL didn't pull the same stunt twice. And here's where it got interesting. During the match, Stevie Richards nailed JBL with a brutal chair shot, one of the stiffest you'll ever see on WWE TV. JBL's head snapped back, the crowd erupted, and for a moment, the bully got a taste of his own medicine. But here's the twist. Years later, Richards actually apologized to JBL. In interviews, Richards explained that at the time, he swung as hard as he could out of loyalty to Blue Meanie and to make sure JBL got his receipt. But as time passed, Richards said he realized how dangerous that chair shot really was. He admitted he could have seriously injured JBL, or even ended his career with how hard he connected. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.